What's going on, everybody? This is Drew Peters, aka the Vanilla Gorilla, coming at you with Suppz.com. Today we're going to be talking a few quick hits on one of the most popular ingredients slash supplements slash some people classify drugs of all time, both present as well as now and in the future. I don't see it changing anytime soon, and that would be caffeine. Now, not on your list the most hip, new, and exciting things, but the fact is caffeine has been around for a long time, and it's going to be one of the most popular for a long time to come, because the fact is it works. Study after study has proven that it's an effective ingredient, and it will continue to be so for the future. There are a few other things that kind of mimic the effects, but caffeine itself is not going to change. It's known chemically as 1,3,7-trimethylaxanine, and it's often derived from the seeds of coffee, plants, other things like that. It can even be synthetically made in a lab. So the main thing when you think of things like that is sometimes as caffeine anhydrous, or there's different forms we'll cover later in the video, but a lot of times we see caffeine, it doesn't say the source. It is possible to have both naturally derived as well as synthetically created caffeine. So with that being said, sometimes you'll see things listed differently, and I'll allude to this later, such as caffeine from green coffee bean, or caffeine from green tea extract, so on and so forth. Or sometimes you'll see caffeine anhydrous, and where that matters, it doesn't matter the extract, there's listing the active amount of caffeine. So with that being said, there's no physiological difference between natural and synthetic versions. So it's also known as the world's most popular drug. Let's first and foremost make that very clear. Almost 92 to 98%, depending on the study that you look at, for the population in North America alone, consumes some sort of caffeine on a daily basis. The average daily intake has been estimated with the population to be about 193, just under 200 milligrams per day, or about 1.2 milligrams per kilogram of body weight per day. On a worldwide basis, Norway, the Netherlands, Denmark, Germany, and I believe Sweden are going to have the highest intake at about 300 milligrams per day. Now, there's a lot of benefits to taking caffeine, which is obviously why people take it. It makes you feel good, but to get even more specific is that there are specific benefits and research study claims that it has positive benefits, including potentiation of your skeletal muscle force, work, and power, so improve your workouts. It can enhance the vigilance during bouts of extended exercise to keep you going, as well as basically even when you're sleep deprived, it can help. So it's not something just for alerting you when you're fully on tank and take the next step, but it can also kind of help you cheat not getting all of your sleep in, whether that be good or bad. Some people are going to argue that it's counterproductive, and long-term effects in terms of hurting you for not getting enough sleep is a bigger issue, but I digress. A few other things to cover is that caffeine does in fact help with improvements in motor learning and short-term memory. It can also even help with fat loss and decrease glucose utilization. It can also help basically improve fatty acid oxidation altogether. So it raises your metabolism. There's a lot of good things too in terms of cognition. So basically, if we're looking at that, basically it can help increase perceived exertion. Basically what that means is that when you're training, it can kind of help keep the feel-good chemicals going, so you're not realizing how hard you are training, and therefore train harder and longer in that state. It can also cause an enhanced wakefulness and suppress sedation, aka it makes it so you don't fall asleep. And overall, it just helps with subjective mood and well-being. So, with that being said, let's talk about some of the forms of caffeine. Not keeping this video too long. There's a lot of different sources that can come from. Some are commonly used in general application, and they can include both synthetic and botanical sources. But you can be labeled however they see fit and to make it work. So let's start with the synthetic stuff. Caffeine anhydrous, which is easily the most common form of caffeine used in the world, is a low-cost and effective synthetic caffeine source. Most of the research studies in existence are going to be using caffeine anhydrous as the gold standard, so that's what's important. And per milligram, caffeine anhydrous contains about 90% caffeine. A little more on the exotic side, dicaffeine malate, which is actually a branded ingredient known as Infinergy dicaffeine malate, it has basically been bonded to malic acid. It's marketed to be a form of caffeine, delivers the same effects of caffeine anhydrous, but prevents the potential stomach issues and experience higher dose of caffeine anhydrous, so basically it keeps you more level. However, that speculation is not proven, and it does have a lower caffeine yield of 65 to 70% per milligram. Now, caffeine citrate is another common one, which is basically taking caffeine combined with citric acid monohydrate and sodium citrate dehydrate. is technically classified as a drug. So for the most part, a lot of people don't use it in dietary supplements, but it's reported to act faster than traditional caffeine anhydrous, and it's more soluble, but it's also less stable, and it contains about 45-50% or half the caffeine of caffeine anhydrous. On the botanical side, guarana is a really popular one. Off the top of my head, I don't remember the botanical name, but it generally has more water solubility, so it also can double as a flavoring component, which is pretty cool. So a lot of times you'll see it in a drink both for the flavor as well as the energy enhancement. It's also noted to be resemblant of tangerine or other citrus fruits, and it provides like a nice fruity aroma. There's also specific data on guarana itself that can help improve your mood, energy, overall cognition, independent of the caffeine content. So it has some other cool compounds in it. So it's a really cool ingredient. Another really popular one is green tea, known botanically as Camellia sinensis. It's probably the most popular form of natural caffeine out there, and one should note that the caffeine content is going to depend on entirely what extract level is used in the product. But on average, I believe it's anywhere from about 4.5% to 10% of the total material. Mate is another common one. Known by its full name as yerba mate, this botanical source is light green tea and is often consumed as a tea as well as a dietary ingredient. It's been researched in a lot of different models, including rodents, and offers promises for things like inflammation, obesity, and even antioxidant properties. However, it has a low caffeine yield of about 2%. Segueing into another one, which a lot of you may be familiar with, is green coffee bean. The full botanical name, Coffea arabica, is an extract, and it's one of the most popular sources for natural caffeine and many. And a logical connection is that it's coffee-based, so it's going to have caffeine in it. There's a lot of concentration of the caffeine content that's possible to get from the extract, and you can get up to 98% caffeine from this one, so it's a pretty potent one, which is pretty cool. Now, the last but not least one I'm talking about on the natural side is called cola. It's not really a significantly abundant source of caffeine usually, and usually has less than 10 to 20%. It's most often used because of unique nutty taste and odor, so there's basically having the flavor and aroma effects as well in the course of the addition of the caffeine. But it's an interesting one, and there's also concern about long-term safety data because in some rodent models it did have markers of decreased testosterone and other hormonal impacts. So it's not terrible, it's not proven, it didn't translate to human studies, but it's one of those kind of up in the air still. But it's out there, for your consideration. So with that being said, we covered what caffeine does, positive benefits, some synthetic forms, some botanical forms. So you have both natural, synthetic, and you have a more informed approach to caffeine, where it comes from, what it does, and how it affects. We're not going to go into the physiology of caffeine tonight. That's for another video. I just want to hit you with a quick, short video to give you some lowdown on different forms of caffeine and its benefits. This has been Drew Peters for Suppz.com, coming out with a quick video of ingredients on caffeine. Stay tuned, leave a comment below for stuff you would like to see, and thank you for watching as always. Drew Peters for Suppz.com, out.